and welcome to my channel. My name is Martine, and if you are new here, I do videos on Vedic astrology mainly, but also with some tropical insights, and I focus on both relationship and natal astrology. And if you like this video and you would like to hear more content from me, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and click on the notifications bell if you want to be notified when I post a new video. And also, please feel free to comment in the comment section with any feedback you would like to give, or maybe suggestions for topics you would like to see me cover on this channel. Also, if you are interested in a personal consultation, I do consultations on a wide variety of topics. You can check out the video description. I will leave my contact information there. And also, I have a tarot channel that I have started more recently than this channel. I will also be linking that in the video description and also in the pinned comment. So if you're interested in tarot, you might want to go ahead and check it out. Maybe subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you. And today's topic is in continuation. It's the last but not least video in the series about planets as Darakaraka. And again, I will be linking all the related videos in the video description. You can go and check it out if I reference something that you don't understand. More specifically, there is a video that I did to explain exactly what Darakaraka is, how to find out what the Darakaraka is in your horoscope, and what it shows in general in your psychology with respect to your partner archetype. So yes, and I will be linking all the related videos in the description. You can go ahead and check those out because I will not be spending too much time, explaining all the general descriptions for what Darakaraka stands for. So getting straight into it, Saturn is Darakaraka. What does this mean with respect to what you need in a relationship, first and foremost? Well, Saturn stands for stability, durability. It stands for anything that basically stands the test of time. So things that are thorough, dependable, the bare rock of existence, nothing fancy, but just something you can rely on, something that you know is always there. That's why Saturn rules stones, and it rules the skeleton with respect to medical astrology. It rules minerals and stuff like that. So basically, Saturn is the bare rock. It's like the foundation. It is the minimum without embellishments, without too much glamour. There are also a lot of other things that Saturn stands for, but this is for you to understand what you need in a relationship. So with Saturn as your Darakaraka, you're really going to want a partner that you can rely on. This is the most important thing. You need a partner who is going to give you stability, security, and I mean security on every plane, most likely. So especially on the material plane. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to want a wealthy spouse. Obviously, as usual, I issue this disclaimer every time I do a video that you have to also look at individual horoscopes because these general interpretations will vary with what else is going on in the horoscope. So there could be slight variations here. But by and large, Saturn as Darakaraka does not necessarily mean that you're going to be like aiming for a very wealthy spouse or something like that. But you will definitely want someone that you can rely on, someone who is responsible, mature, who makes you feel like they're in it for the long term. The best way to describe Saturn, honestly, or your needs in a relationship if you have Saturn as Darakaraka, there's this quote by, I think it was Oprah or some rich famous person from the US. I don't remember, but I think it was Oprah who said something along the lines of, my ideal man is not someone who is, driving a fancy car, but someone who is willing to take the bus with me if the fancy car breaks down or something like that. And that's pretty much like how the person with Saturn as Darakaraka would see relationships. You want to be with a person who is really going to be there for you when the going gets tough. The most important thing is for you to feel like you can rely on your partner emotionally, even psychologically, but I would say especially in very practical ways, right? So financially, with respect to actual help and service that this person can provide for you. So like, for instance, so having someone who, you know, is gonna be there to take care of the kids after work, or you know, who's going to be there for you in case of an emergency, is going to drive you to, I don't know, heaven forbid, the doctor or the hospital if you have an emergency. So this is the kind of partner that you need. You need someone who is maybe not the most expressive romantic partner, but definitely someone that you feel is just there for you, especially when the going gets tough. And the kind of partner you are going to attract, and again, I mentioned this also in other videos in this series, that it's kind of a question of the chicken or the egg with this topic, because it's like, these are the kinds of people you're going to be attracted to, and this is also the kind of partner that you are going to end up attracting. And the reason I say it's kind of like a chicken or the egg question is because, is it really that, I mean, is it like fated that you're going to attract this kind of a person? Or is it just that this is the only kind of person that you would even consider having a relationship with, or the only kind of people that you notice at all, right, when it comes to like dating? And I would say probably the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's like you're probably programmed to be attracted to these kinds of partners. And yeah, so the kind of partner that you're going to attract is a Saturnian kind of person. And again, if you want to get more details about this, you might want to check out a video that I will be linking in the description, where I talked about age gap and controversial relationships and stuff like that. And yes, I talked about a video, in that video, I mean, I also mentioned about Saturn and how it links to generally having an older spouse. So there are variations to this, and I think I also mentioned this in another video. I have met like 2 or 3 men so far who have Saturn as Darakaraka, and they almost exclusively date older women. And I mean, something like at least 7 years older, something like that. And again, these are just some examples. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be the case, because again, you always have to look at what else is happening there. But generally, Saturn actually suggests an age gap with the spouse or the future long-term romantic partner. It doesn't always have to be like the official spouse, but the kind of partner that you end up in relationships with. And so yes, you're going to attract a partner who is mature in any case. So even if this person is younger than you are, they're someone who has a Saturnian outlook. So this is a person who's very serious, very mature. They take things step by step. They like to plan. They're generally going to be organized, you know. This is a person who's very much like time is money, you know, a person who likes to have a schedule, likes to have everything, like I said, planned out to every detail. And this is a person who is going to be very hardworking, going to be focusing on, you know, being of service, being, creating things that are of quality, creating things that are going to be long lasting, and building a reputation and building a career step by step. This is the kind of person that you're going to attract. And yes, so a lot of other things are going to also depend on what other influences you have on Saturn. So I'm going to get a little bit into some examples of how this Darakaraka can manifest when you have other planets influencing it. So when I talk about influence, this could be by aspect. It could be that Saturn is in a nakshatra ruled by one of these planets. Yes, pretty much this is it. Aspect or nakshatra mainly, or sign, of course. Sign that is ruled by one of these planets. So when you have, let's say, Saturn with the Sun, this is an interesting thing, because these planets are natural enemies. And in fact, this is one of the, probably the worst planetary relationships. Saturn and the Sun together are not happy. And like, they really stand for totally different things. But that doesn't mean that there aren't potentially positive expressions to this. So if you have the Sun influencing your Darakaraka, you could attract a partner who, in addition to the basic description that I just presented, also has some very dignified, maybe even slightly royal, or like, aristocratic, sort of an air about them. They're going to have an air of dignity, of pride. You know, they could actually, especially if this is in like Maga Nakshatra, for instance, in Leo, this could actually show someone who is like, you know, good breeding, or maybe, you know, basically comes from a significant family background, or they could be a person who is self-made and just has a really good reputation, good social status, right? And what else was I going to say? Right, also with the Leo energy is that this person could be a little bit more creative, but the downside is also that they could be more egotistical. With the Saturn energy, especially when it's an aspect, you could attract a partner who is really controlling, you know, wants to be the leader in also in the relationship, most likely. But in general, in life, they will try to get to positions of authority by actually being a little bit domineering and imposing, and even using intimidation to some extent. But on the bright side, they can be very creative. They can be more creative. They can be more expressive with respect to their emotions. And they can also be more, like, masculine, I guess, for lack of a better word. And because the sun is basically like kind of a very male paternal figure. So, oh, that's actually a good word, paternal, because both Saturn and the sun are kind of like authority figures, paternal figures, stuff like that. So when you see these two planets together, you could actually attract a person who's kind of like has this kind of paternal air about them. And I know this is even true if the person is a woman. You know, like, basically, this is a person who kind of takes on that role of being, like, the wise, patriarchal figure or something in any particular group or context, and especially in the relationship. So, if Saturn is with the moon, or if Saturn is influenced by the moon, you could attract, here's the thing, especially with the aspect, you could attract a person who maybe tends to be melancholic, tends to be a bit depressed. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to say that they're going to be, like, clinically depressed, or they're going to have some severe mental problems. But with the moon's influence on Saturn, this person is a little bit less reliable, a little bit less stable. And again, a lot of this will depend on what else is happening there, what other planets are influencing. But generally, you're going to see a person who's more introverted, more sensitive, shy, you know, not the most confident person, especially if Saturn is in Cancer, because Saturn is not happy in Cancer. Because, you know, Saturn rules Capricorn and Cancer is ruled by the moon. So basically, again, these are pretty much not a friendly relationship. This is an enemy relationship, but it's not as bad as Saturn and the sun. So in any case, you could, yes, attract a partner who is more melancholic, more sensitive, more withdrawn. But again, even with the moon, you could definitely attract a person who is very creative, more sensitive to your needs, more nurturing, has a touch of, you know, more empathy, maybe more emotional expression. They're going to care more about, you know, closeness and having an emotional bond in the relationship, whereas Saturn by itself can be a lot more pragmatic and maybe not emotionally expressive even much at all. But yeah, so with the moon, you can have more sensitivity. You could also have a partner who's more nurturing, more understanding, maybe more interested in domestic activities or building a nice, comfortable nest. Again, it does depend on what else is happening there. When you have Mercury influencing Saturn, this is actually mostly going to be a good expression because Mercury and Saturn are friends. So this could show a partner who is actually an interesting blend of maturity and youthfulness. In some ways they could be mature, in some ways they could be youthful. And so this could be like, it could go either way with respect to actual age difference. You could attract a partner who maybe is slightly younger than you are, but they are very mature in their outlook, or it could be a partner who is more physically mature, older, but they're very youthful in their outlook. And Mercury generally shows a person who is very interested in constantly learning new things, especially new skills, working on their communication. They could also be working in having a profession that is somehow connected to communication. In any case, actually, communication is going to be something that is really important in their lives. So they're going to be somehow known for communication. And they could also be someone who is into business, because Mercury is about having a finger in every pie, a person who really is versatile and resourceful and really more social as well. So this person could have a bit more social graces than the average Saturnian archetype. And on the downside, maybe you could have a partner who is a little bit more scattered, right? Because this is kind of like a social butterfly energy. So this partner could have, let's say, like, could get caught up in multiple streams of building, let's say, multiple streams of income or multiple career directions, and they might have a hard time settling on just one course of action. But again, in order to really see if it's going to be a predominantly negative or positive, you really have to look at what else is happening in the horoscope and what other planets are potentially influencing this combination. If Venus is influencing Saturn, again, this is definitely a very happy combination, because again, Venus and Saturn are friends. And in fact, Venus really is going to sweeten up the energy of Saturn. So here, especially if you have Saturn in a sign of Venus or aspected by Venus, you could attract a partner who is above average good looking, who has good bone structure, especially because Saturn is bones, you know, and the skeletal structure, and nice teeth, especially as well. But let me not get too much into, of course, a lot of this will also depend on individual placements. But yes, you're also going to attract a partner who's more romantic, again, who's going to be more fun in the relationship than the average Saturnian, who, again, Saturn in itself doesn't really care too much about glamour or having fun or spoiling either themselves or other people too much. Usually a Saturnian is actually, I would say, the typical love language, let's say for a Saturnian archetype, would be acts of service, because Saturn is about serving. It's actually, I've said this before, in Vedic astrology, connected to servants and even beggars. Like basically people who were traditionally seen as kind of like the servant class, you know, like, let's say, lower in society, according to, like, I don't know, traditional social structures and even caste systems and all that stuff. So yes, but I digress. So Venus aspecting Saturn, it's a good one, okay? It's like a partner who is going to be attractive, also artistic, a person who could have a very pleasant voice. You might really notice their voice. They might even be a good singer. Could have Venusian traits in general, like I said, so could be really interested in art. Again, could have hobbies or even professions connected to art, because I have talked about this in a separate video, and I might link this in the video description as well. I had a video where I talked about how Saturn actually shows your life's work. So for many of you, this could be that the planets that are influencing Saturn can actually really, I mean, for everyone, honestly, the Darakaraka does give hints with respect to what the partner's profession might be. But I would say especially so for Saturn, because Saturn is the Karaka that is connected to social karma, social duties, in other words, what we call career. So yes, so you could have a partner that is, you know, into arts professionally even. And so anything connected with beauty and the beauty industry, and also sweets industry as well. So a person who, again, you could attract a partner who has a sweet tooth. But most likely with Venus, this is a happy combination. You're going to have like a sweet spot of a partner that is like somewhere between disciplined, reliable, but also affectionate, and also knows how to loosen up and have fun every now and then, and also is more self-indulgent and can indulge also can help other people indulge in a little bit of fun and pleasure every now and then. So it's not so austere and minimalist as Saturn would be on its own. And then if you have Jupiter influencing Saturn, wait, I skipped Mars, but I'm going to go with Jupiter first. I'm going to talk about Mars. So if you have Jupiter influencing Saturn, if you have, let's say, Saturn in a sign or nakshatra ruled by Jupiter or aspected by Jupiter, this is also a kind of like pluses and minuses situation. It's not an enemy, but it's not an enemy relationship, but it's also not the happiest combination, because these planets again are really ruling different things. Jupiter is about expansion, Saturn is about restriction and control and rules and regulations. And so you could attract a partner here that is more philosophical. Again, you can even attract a partner who is into the legal system here, because Jupiter and Saturn, both of them are actually connected to the legal system. And so yes, again, does depend on what else is going on there. But yes, you could attract a partner who is more philosophical, who is more expansive than the regular Saturn person. However, the more dark side about this is you could attract a partner who is very conservative with respect to their views, especially if you have aspects, especially the mutual aspect between Saturn and Jupiter. The mutual aspects can only be conjunction or opposition, basically, I think. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to get into aspects here. I have talked about this in other videos, but in Vedic astrology, there are also special aspects. So they're not the same aspects as in tropical astrology, just a reminder. And in any case, with the mutual aspect especially, you could come across a person who's quite dogmatic, a person who doesn't really easily let go of their worldview, might be a little bit intolerant, and you could actually attract a partner who is quite orthodox, right? They could really adhere to their culture, whatever their culture, their religious background is. They're going to stick to that most likely. In fact, with Saturn influences, between what I've seen with Jupiter and Saturn influencing each other, is that even if the person is not raised religious, they might at some point convert to an organized religion, because Saturn feels very drawn to the whole rules and regulations and prescriptions of an organized religion, and basically someone telling you that, you know, if you follow these 10 commandments, you're going to go to heaven. It makes them feel better. Because, you know, Saturn is also about fears and death and limitations. So yes, let's not forget where it all comes from. But in any case, let me not digress. Basically, yes, you're going to attract a more Jupiterian person. And also with respect to appearance here, you could definitely, most likely, you're going to attract a person that is above average in height, because both Jupiter and Saturn could show people that are above average in height. And again, you also want to look at the other partner signifiers in your horoscope and see what those are saying, because they would have to not contradict this in order to have a really tall partner. Also, very nice smile, very nice bone structure, especially nice smile with this combination with respect to appearance. Long limbs, oval face, let me think. Also outdoorsy. This could definitely be a person who's more interested in travel. But again, with respect to their interests, this is all interesting, because you're going to have a partner that is going to have some typical Jupiterian traits. However, the Jupiterian traits are going to be influenced by Saturn, which means they will be interested in the same things as a Jupiterian, but they will be more dogmatic and intolerant and stubborn about them. Like, if they like to travel, they will only like to travel in a certain way. Like, no, I'm only using this app and this airline company and, you know, stuff like that. Like, they could have like these really fixed, rigid ideas about different things, right? Or maybe they only travel to a certain place or something. Right, just to give you an example. Now, if if Saturn is influenced by Mars, this is another tough one. Because Saturn and Mars don't go well together. You know, like, especially if Saturn is in Aries, this is not a very healthy Saturn, because Saturn is debilitated in Aries. And the reason it's debilitated in Aries is because Aries is very willful. It's very individualistic. Aries and Mars are basically archetypes of the pioneer, the warrior. This is about a person who just does what they want. It's all about imposing your willpower, being assertive, being yourself, standing out, you know, pushing yourself to the forefront. And Saturn is basically the opposite of all those things. Saturn is about conformity, it's about regulations, it's about blending in with the crowd, it's about following the prescriptions and the rules of society. So there's already like an inner conflict there if you have Saturn in Aries for yourself, and also potentially with respect to the partner archetype. There could be a mirroring happening here between you and your partner. And the same thing to some extent is going to apply if there are aspects between Mars and Saturn. You could have a person who is a bit of a misfit in society, and a person who is at odds with society. You know, they could even get, worst case scenario, this could even be someone who is kind of like, you know, it makes me think of like Red Butler in Gone with the Wind. Like someone like that who just doesn't care about social norms and has a bad reputation. Yes, do not exclude that possibility, right? Someone like a renegade or something. Basically, I mean, worst case scenario. In any case, it's going to show, irrespective of how bad, I mean, depending on what other aspects are there, you could have more negative or more positive expressions. But irrespective, when Mars is influencing Saturn, you're going to have a partner who's definitely a little more aggressive, more assertive, not afraid to, you know, break the mold, not afraid to go against society. This is the major difference with respect to other aspects of Saturn. And, you know, this is a person, or here's the thing, even if they try to comply to society, it will be in their own way. And I'm not going to get too much into details, but I've seen this with especially Saturn and Aries. You see this in the charts of people who are, you know, start to live outside of society, like criminals or, you know, people who are involved in all kinds of frauds and stuff. And obviously this is worst case scenario, but the reason this is sometimes a thing, it's an expression, is because of all these things that I've said. It's because Aries is about going your own way, and Saturn is about society and restrictions of society and social expectations. So already you have a person, if you have this combination, it can show that you yourself, first of all, again, you could have some of these qualities, but especially with respect to your partner archetype, this is a person who doesn't easily fit into society, you know, or like in some way, there could be something about them that is different from the norm. Like I said, you know, they could be some kind of a Jesse James figure or like Red Butler or something. Hopefully not that bad, but you know what I mean. This is like definitely someone, again, could be rough, really rough around the edges. I guess for the women who like to go for macho men, this is good news, because the partner you're going to attract is going to be masculine. Also, if you're a gay man and you're attracted to macho men, also good news. But again, it comes with pluses and minuses. Like I said, worst case scenario, you could attract someone who really rubs people the wrong way and is not afraid to burn bridges. Let me put it like that. Like, and then if you have, let's say, Saturn influenced by Rahu, again, this is one of the configurations that can show huge age differences. Again, I will recommend that you watch the video that I did on, I think I titled it Age Gap and Controversial Relationships, something like that. I'm going to link it in the video description, and that's where I really went in depth with respect to Rahu and Saturn influence relationship, especially Rahu. But here, if you have Rahu influencing Saturn, the chances of you actually having a partner that is significantly younger or significantly older than you are higher than usual. And yeah, so you could have, again, this is interesting because you could have a partner here that, again, in some ways is, you know, different from the norm, but it's not actually going to potentially show, I don't know, like someone who really stands out in a negative sense. Not necessarily. Again, with Rahu and Saturn, I'm thinking more of like Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. Like, I feel like some people, I don't know why I feel like giving examples right now, but these are like archetypes that this is the kind of energy that it makes me think of, right? So don't think it's going to be 100% like that. Obviously, you're not going to be dating pimps, I hope. Not all of you, at least. But, like, I mean, someone like that in the sense that this is someone who could be very good at using strategies and shortcuts to gain social status and professional success. That's what I wanted to say with Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. And yeah, and also this could also be a person who's very good with technology, could be very progressive, you know. This is a person who is more open-minded. So this is not someone who is going to be, let's say, very dogmatic and religious, unless Jupiter is also involved here. So it's more likely that this person is more, let's say, new agey and more open to things like tarot and astrology and, you know, other things that are non-conventional, not traditional. And actually, this is a person, again, similarly with the Mars combination, could actively go against tradition, but not in the same way as Mars. You know, they're more likely to be more subtle and go about getting what they want by using deceit, you know, to some extent, or being kind of cunning, not open confrontations and not making a fuss and stuff like that. And again, it's one of the combinations that could show the partner could be from a foreign culture. And, or somehow could be very different, right? They, like I said in the video with age gaps and controversial relationships, literally this partner could be someone that seems like a controversial choice somehow. Like, people could raise eyebrows when they see you together, either maybe because it's something with respect to their appearance, or it could be like they're a different culture, different religion, different race, or something about them is unusual. Maybe they have a lot of tattoos and piercings or whatever. With Rahu, actually, it's common to see people wearing things or having a style that is basically cultural appropriation. I keep thinking of that. like not literally like that bad, not like cultural appropriation, but they will like to be taking different parts of different cultures, right? They like, yeah, they like to experience some, or sometimes they will have maybe one or two different cultures or one culture that they really feel drawn to, and they might really like wear stuff that culture wears, or wear certain tattoos that culture wears, or stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like with Rahu, there could be this element of them being interested in multiculturalism or other cultures or stuff like that, something that is different from their own culture of origin. And also, I said this before, Rahu is connected to things like tattoos and piercings, definitely, because it rules everything that is unconventional about like physical appearance, even though nowadays they've become normalized, I think, to a large extent. And that's also because we live in the age of Aquarius, which is co-ruled by Rahu, so I won't get into that. And now, if Saturn is influenced by Ketu, this person, especially if you have Saturn-Ketu conjunction, this is a very spiritual I mean, in many ways, you're very lucky, because this person is a spiritual person, and this is a person who's very, very strong. This is a person who, in many lifetimes, they've gone through a lot of crap, and now they're very resilient. So this is definitely someone who is just tough as nails. Like, this is someone who's going to be there for you, not going to crack under pressure. They're going to be there for you, okay? I mean, to a large extent, again, this does depend on what else is happening, what other aspects, what sign it's happening in, you know, what sign is Saturn in, what sign is Ketu in. One of them could be stronger than the other. A negative, potentially negative expression to this is you could actually have the opposite of someone who's reliable. So Ketu's nature is to dissolve what it touches. It's kind of similar to Neptune in tropical astrology. If you've ever read the traditional interpretations for Neptunian energy, it's I'm not going to get into it because I don't even use Neptune anymore, but I remember the descriptions very well because I've been into tropical astrology for decades, or more than a decade. In any case, so if it's influenced by Neptune, you could have a partner who is actually the opposite of the original qualities that I mentioned with respect to Saturn. So a person who is maybe not very reliable, a person who's not very organized, not very responsible, you know, not good at time planning. So a person that might bail out on you when you most need them. So this is like worst case scenario, okay? Depending on how strong this aspect is and which of them is strongest, that's another thing, you know. Is it Ketu who is stronger, or is it Saturn? What sign is this happening in? What nakshatras are they in, etc., etc.? What other planets are influencing this? But so best case scenario, you can have a person who's very tough. Like I said, especially with the conjunction, this could show a person that is just rock solid. They're not going to bail out on you. They're definitely there for you when the going gets tough. And they're also going to be more spiritual with this conjunction. So here you could have a person who is not going to be religious. Unlikely that they're going to be like part of an organized religion. It's actually more likely that this person is just going to be very wise. They're just going to have this energy about them, like they have lived 100 lives before, and they just know a lot about life and how to deal with challenging situations, how to make ends meet even in the worst and most dire circumstances. Very hardworking, will naturally just, you know, honestly just expect life to be hard work and to be tough. So they are, you know, that's like their default mode. They're going to just be very, very reliable and very solid. So yes, this is pretty much what I can say with respect to Saturn as Darakaraka in general. And again, I do mention this, that once again, that a lot of this does depend on what else is happening in the individual horoscope, and what else is happening, not just with respect to Saturn, but with respect to your other partner dispositors. And I have done a video where I talked about what all the partner dispositors are, depending on your gender or what you identify as, in another video, and I will be linking that other video in the video description if you want to find out more about it. So this has been it, and if you have enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe and click on the notifications bell to see when I will post a new video. And also, if you're interested in a private consultation, I do consultations on a wide variety of topics with respect to relationship astrology and natal astrology. And you can email me at the email address in the video description, and I can send you a pricing list and the full set of options that I offer in case you're curious. And also, if you are interested in tarot, don't forget to check out my tarot channel, which I will be linking in the video description, as well as in the pinned comment. So maybe check it out, maybe subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you, and I hope to see you at my next video.